Hey, what's up? This your boy Big Man. You already know what it is, man. So let's get right to it. Okay, so we're going to talk about Lil Reese today. And in this story, we're going to go back to the other stories that we did from this weekend. Now, for those of you who don't know, Lil Reese is a Chicago drill rapper, a Chicago drill legend at this point, man, because he's made it to the age of 28, and a lot of Chicago drill rappers don't make it that far, it's sad to say. Horrible situation, right? Now, Lil Reese hogged up most of the headlines coming out of this weekend because he was in a shooting situation where him and two other people got shot in a parking garage in a nice neighborhood downtown in Chicago. Now, Lil Reese's story was something different than what everybody initially thought. I even did a video where I backtracked and said, hey man, let's leave some room open just in case Lil Reese was telling the truth about what he said was going down when he got shot. And some of the details that were given by his girlfriend yesterday and some of the details from the reports that came out the day before that corroborated a lot of what Lil Reese said. But the Chicago Sun-Times came out with a report last night that brought out some new details that are crazy. I'm talking about like out of the people, there were two groups and there's supposed to be another shooter that came out. I'm talking about this is some real interesting stuff. And it just compounds on this whole big story of how Lil Reese got in this predicament. Now, before we get into the specifics, do me a favor. Make sure you hit that like button, make sure you hit that subscribe button, and man, let's get it. Now that we got that out of the way, let's talk some more about Lil Reese and the new details that have emerged from a Chicago Sun-Times article that was published last night. Now, it looks like Lil Reese caught himself in a predicament like we said. And it also leaves room for error that maybe Lil Reese is telling the truth. But what's crazy about this story is, man, there's a shooter that comes out of nowhere and nobody is saying they know who this dude is. So I don't know, man. This is going into spooky territory to say the least. Now, first, I want to talk about this post made by none other than DJ Academics. Now, DJ Academics, for those of you who don't know, come on, y'all know who DJ Academics is. He's the most famous blogger in Chicago rap history. He knows all the details usually before they even happen. That he's that dude, right? Well, he made a post that said this. It said, according to details, Lil Reese was sitting in a stolen car and the owner of the car, a 55-year-old man, and his son tracked the car via GPS tracker. When they pulled up, they confronted the people in the car, then opened fire. Shots were returned from the car as well. Now that little excerpt right there, I believe, is also from the Chicago Sun-Times article, that I'm going to reference in a second, man. Like, I'm going to go through the article. But another part that comes later in that is this secret shooter, this person who comes out of nowhere and starts shooting, and nobody is taking accountability for whoever this is. Now, it does place Lil Reese in the car. Now, most people would say, hold up, if he ain't steal the car or he wasn't involved in the car robbery, why in the world is he sitting in the car? Well, through Lil Reese's own admission, he said he was just showing up to go into the car to buy something from the folks. Now, it is common that if you're going to purchase something from somebody and they're selling it out of their car, they're selling it out of their trunk, that you go to their car and you sit in there and you purchase it from them. You know, it gives a level of security for the person who has the goods, and that way you can see it. And, you know, it's just a comfortable setting to where you can engage, negotiate price and all that, right? So just because Lil Reese was in the car doesn't mean that he was a part of the group that stole the car. Dig me? Now, let's get to this article real quick. Now, in the article, it says a couple of things that you guys are going to love. Hey, what's up? This your boy Big Man, and I know you're enjoying this video, but make sure you go and you follow me on social media platforms like Instagram, and also go to my Twitter page and make sure you hit that follow button there so you can get the latest and greatest updates of when I'm dropping my videos. And man, don't forget to hit that like button, hit that like button, hit that like button so we can spread this video around, and we trying to get 2,000 likes, so run them likes up. All right. Okay, so let's look at this article. Now, the headline for this article says, new details still leave questions about shootout that wounded rapper Lil Reese in a near North parking garage. Now, it also continues to say, Reese and others were confronted by a man while they were inside a stolen car. Another person then appeared and opened fire. The motive of the shooter was unclear, and that's the part we want to harp on. Like, nobody knows who the person was that first started firing and where they came from. Now, a lot of your conspiracy folks would say, hey, man, that was the setup to begin with. That's the person who came out of nowhere to shoot at Lil Reese. Now, the story continues to say this. It says, new details from police suggest rapper Lil Reese, was wounded in a gunfight that broke out after a man tracked his son's stolen car to a near Northside parking garage and tried to detain the people inside. The incident began shortly before 10 a.m. Saturday when the 55-year-old father tracked his son's stolen car to a garage in the first block of West Grand Avenue, where the son had directed his father by using a GPS tracker in the car and his cell phone, police said. As the father confronted Reese and others inside the car, on the third level of the garage, another person appeared and opened fire on the car. A Chicago police spokeswoman said Monday the motive of the shooter was unclear. All right, stop right there. So as the father walks up to the car, now they're not saying this is the son. They're saying the son was tracking the car through the GPS and using the cell phone, right? So he's occupied doing that. I don't know where he's doing that from or where he's doing that at. Now, that doesn't mean he isn't the shooter, and that doesn't mean that, he didn't know the shooter or anything like that. But it's odd that it says the father was talking to Lil Reese and then while they're in the car, and the shooter came out of nowhere and started shooting, and his motive was unclear. So the shooter could have been an op of Lil Reese. The shooter could have been an op of the guys who were in the car selling Lil Reese whatever he was there to buy. You know what I mean? And that is the weird part of this story. All right. Now, the story continues to say this. It says the car sped off and then crashed, and the people inside the car exchanged gunfire with the other shooter, police said. 3 men were wounded in the shootout, including Lil Reese, whose legal name is Tavares Taylor. Guns were recovered in the stolen car, but no one was in custody, police said. A group of witnesses described what they called a weird series of events in the garage connected to a luxury high-rise condominium in a bustling area. Stop there. Okay, so this all happened in a nice area. The high-rise apartments where people spend big money just to stay in the high-rise on the whatever floor. You know what I mean? So that way they can show off and be in a nice neighborhood, go downstairs, drink their coffees and all that, and walk their little foo-foo dogs and stuff, right? So this is an odd place for something like this to happen, right? Even though with the FBG Duck situation, we saw the equivalent of Rodeo Drive for Chicago, their, Gold Coast, get shot up and sprayed, in this FBG Duck situation, right? So, it's not beyond Chicago cats to do something like this, but it's just not as common. You know what I mean? Even the FBG Duck thing, that wasn't as common. They did a whole story about that community putting their own money up to try to find out what happened with that. You know what I mean? So what's weird is that people would pull this off in that area and that somebody would pop out of nowhere. And even the people who witnessed it said it was just a weird series of events. You know what I mean? It continues to say, the group said they were on their way to their vehicle when they heard what sounded like a car crash. The group also heard 2 pops, which turned out to be gunshots. When the group drove their car to the 3rd floor of the garage, they saw a vehicle crash into a cement barrier with its airbags deployed. The witness said it was unclear what led up to the crash. Officers told the witnesses that there were 4 suspects. Saturday's attack marked the second time Taylor was shot since November 19. Now, remember, that's when Lil Reese got shot in the neck, and that's why he has the voice situation he has today when he suffered a neck wound, blah, blah, blah. Okay, and then that's actually the end of the story. Now, the crazy part about that, and what really comes out of this, is what was the motive of that shooter, and where in the world did they come from? Like, was that a part of the plan anyway? Like, somebody just divert them or whatever and then start shooting? That would get your mind to thinking, man, because somebody took that opportunity to just start the shooting while Lil Reese and them were in the car. Now, obviously, it wasn't the old man who was the shooter. The 55-year-old man who was talking to him. but it's weird to say the least, man. It's a weird situation. So I don't know. What do you guys think about these new details? Because they definitely leave room for a lot of speculation when it comes to who the shooter was and why nobody knows who that person was. Out of two groups of people with two different sets of agendas, and how in the world did Lil Reese end up outside the car in between that barrier still? Did he escape the car after it crashed or whatnot? I still want to know that as well. Now, with that, this has been your boy Big Man. Do me a favor. Make sure you hit that like button. Make sure you hit that subscribe button. And make sure you hit that notification bell so that way you get a notification every time I drop this hot content. And we out of here. Peace.